Hi, everyone.
Are we on?
We are,
We're-
but you have to wait a second because something happened here
Uh-oh.
when I pressed the button. Now it's fine.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hey, I can't see us, but that's okay. We're on.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Welcome.
it just helps me.
It helps Carol, and we're all about helping you. It's all about you, Carol.
No.
That could be our banter today. We'll just talk about Carol.
I like that.
Yes. No. All right, I'm putting the brakes on that one right now. Oh my gosh.
Well,
So
welcome back.
this is our 20th, number 20 podcast.
Okay, 20.
Wow.
That's a long
Who
time.
knew that we were going to last that long?
No, you did. And you did. I believed it as well. I thought it
I
was-
wasn't even sure you'd join us for like number one.
That's absolutely.
That's true. I almost didn't. I said, oh, God, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, but you get to drink, so that's why you.
Yeah, I don't know. The first couple of ones I was behind the camera, right? And then I was
I think
just,
we dragged
and I
you
was
out.
just
We made you come.
jumping back and forth.
Oh, maybe. I can't
And
remember.
because I really don't like being on camera. I don't like my photo taking. I don't like
You're
looking
too
at
hard
me
on
in
yourself.
pictures. I know I am.
She loves
I
taking
am.
photographs.
But it's a lot of fun, and I wouldn't care if nobody watched us. We still have fun doing
We
it.
really do.
It's a good. It's
So-
a
But
good
people are
reason.
watching us. We've got good views.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And you know what also I like about it is that it forces you to learn something new.
Absolutely.
You know, somebody picks a
Abs-
subject and it makes you think about that
Yes.
Yeah.
subject.
And I'm getting
do a
better
little
on that
research.
now, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit when I introduce
Yeah.
something. But yeah, because I agree absolutely. But just to tell our audience real quick about a couple of events that we have,
Go
the
for it.
on the road book events,
Yes.
which is Peggy's and my latest venture.
Right.
Because we just can't stop being in
Well,
the
we
book
started on the road after we closed the bookstore. We
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
wanted to be in the book business somewhat without, working, 50-hour weeks.
50. That's
I know,
That was a little
sometimes
for
much
you,
more.
yeah.
So it has no overhead. So we just do events at different venues. Authors have a book release, and maybe they're doing a library event, and they need a bookseller. That's what we do. So.
Right. And so we have coming up in February 9th, we have an event with Jessamine Chan.
Oh, I love that book.
And this is my book for book discussion today, but I'll get further into that later. And that's, like I said, the 9th. And then we have on the 15th of February, Mary Calvi. And she wrote, If a Poem Could Live and Breathe. The subtitle was A Novel of Teddy Roosevelt's First Love.
Now, she's a reporter on CBS
Yes.
News, because I watched her on
Yes,
there.
she's lovely.
Yes. She is.
And I saw the plug for the book on there, and I see.
Oh, you did?
I
Did they?
did. Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I
okay.
did.
All right. She was saying that she was hoping they would do that, and I know that I got her an interview at Newsday, so they're going to be doing an article for that, and then we're going to get to go to her home and sell
Oh,
books and Yonkers.
nice.
For
Yes.
her book launch.
Yeah.
That's
know.
nice.
Yeah. So all the news people probably will be there, and
Yeah.
so
And that's not her only book.
No.
Because I
no.
ended up looking
She
there
did
up,
the one
too.
about George Washington.
Yeah, right.
When we had the bookstore, we did 2 events with her
Yeah.
on that book, and it was about George Washington's
I'm interested
first
to
love.
hear you how it goes, because she seems like a nice person
very-
on the news anyway.
She's
so.
a very nice person.
Yeah.
You could come to the event.
You're more than
we
welcome.
could come
It's
to
a
you.
Monday night.
I know, that's the only
She
issue.
does a PowerPoint presentation. The one with George Washington, she actually had letters.
Right,
like
right,
she does a lot of research.
Right. Well, I know. I said it was a Monday night, but that's the one in Yonkers at her home.
Okay.
But
Right.
also at Madison Theater, that is a
Wednesday night?
Wednesday or Thursday? No,
Alright,
yeah,
well,
Wednesday night.
Let's
Yeah.
go. I'll check my and we'll
Yeah.
get back.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, but she seems super nice, and I was
She is
surprised
super
at all that
nice.
she's. How did she find the time too to do all this?
And
with-
the book, I read
yeah.
the book, and it's so well written, and you feel like you're in that time period, which I loved. And I love to read about like the president before he's the president, like
Yeah.
you see him as a young girl.
I want to read it. I mean, I live in Oyster Bay, and it's all about Theodore
Absolutely.
Roosevelt
I was
there.
thinking
So
about that. Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense, definitely. But
yeah, so we would love it if anybody out there watching could
Yeah.
please get in touch with Malloy College Madison Theater, buy a ticket. The tickets are, and it includes the book
Yeah,
and some
light refreshments.
light refreshments, $35 a ticket.
Yeah,
Well,
they could probably
I
find it
think
for
it's different prices for. I think for Jessamine's it's a little cheaper because it's a paperback. It's her paper.
Oh yes, hers. I was thinking
think
of Mary
Mary's-
Calvi.
yeah.
Hers
Do
is
you
the
have
new
links
release.
on your Facebook page for
Yeah, and
this?
our
And
website.
on your website,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it's
Absolutely.
on the road book events,
Yep.
right?
You
Yes.
got it.
So Jessamine might be $25 the tickets.
Yeah, I think it is.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Carol's going to be talking about her book, and
Oh, yeah.
I read this book when it first came out, and it's fantastic. I really
Yeah.
loved it.
And I actually took notes because I'm going to be interviewing her for the event, so that'll be
Yeah.
very exciting. So.
Yes.
Very cool. So there's that. So I don't know if we want to talk about anything else, or do we want to go into the wine?
We're at the end of January,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
So-
how did dry January go?
It was a drier January.
Okay.
It was, I took it wasn't a challenge. I mean, my husband Niall is still going good. Which is
Yeah.
Really good.
but he works like crazy because he's an NYPD sergeant,
Yeah.
so it's not like he's got all this time to sit around and drink anymore.
Yeah.
Like us.
But it was drier. The first time I went was the last podcast I
right.
did.
Right.
And so now it's a couple weeks later, and
Oh.
I've only had 2 glasses in between. I
Uh-huh.
did, and then today will be my next wine. So,
Wow.
Oh,
yeah, I
okay.
think I did pretty good.
Now let
It
me
was
ask
dry
you
out
this. Now, are you inspired to like in February, or do you think, oh, thank goodness I could start?
No, I think I'm gonna just, it's a much. I have to say it's a much nicer. I'm a parent, I
Mhm.
work full time, and it's a lot easier. I think not that I was getting drunk,
Right,
or anything,
right.
but
I
it's
think
just-
it's easier when you
better
drink
sleep.
wine.
No, you know what I have
I'm
to
like
say
you.
is better sleep. My sleep
Oh yeah, the better
is
sleep.
much better. Like
Oh, really?
I never had a problem going to sleep. It was just staying asleep.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then now I'm finding that, when you don't, on nights that you don't drink, I can pretty much stay asleep.
Oh,
so it's
okay,
much better
good.
sleep.
Yeah.
Right, and you
Yeah.
did.
Well, I'm calling it damp January because I didn't start until the middle of January, and I didn't do it really because I wanted to do dry January. I did it because since November, since Thanksgiving, I gained 5 pounds.
Oh.
And
That
and
can do
anyway, I spend a fortune on wine because I don't only buy wine for me. Like when
Right.
my daughter Samantha comes to visit, like I buy a ton of sparkling wines, and I always have red wines in the house. If Jessica would like if she comes downstairs and wants a glass of wine.
Right.
So I said, this is ridiculous. I spend a lot of money on wine, and I don't need to drink wine every night anyway. So what I do is I don't have a drink, sometimes on Sunday, but I've been starting with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, no wine.
Yeah, that's
And then
nice.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'll have a couple of glasses
Very
of wine.
nice.
Yeah.
So, and I find that I drink less wine because I'm used to not drinking it.
Mhm.
So the first couple of days, what I did was, because I'm a big seltzer drinker,
Me too.
but Samantha had made a couple of flavored simple syrups and left them in my refrigerator the last time she was here. So I made like a cocktail without alcohol, a mocktail with the simple syrup and
Perfect.
the seltzer, and I put a wedge of lime in it.
That's great.
One of them has it's pear and rosemary flavored, and the other one is blackberry or blueberry something. Pomegranate, I don't know. But anyway, it was good, and it was kind of like, oh, I'm having a cocktail.
Right.
But then after that I didn't. I was actually drinking tea and just my seltzer.
Right.
So,
So it was a damp.
yeah.
It was damp.
Yeah.
But today's Sunday, and we are having wine.
Right.
So
Yeah,
what
Yes,
is
we
we
usually
are.
film on Saturdays, but our
Yeah.
schedules just got a little low.
Yeah,
My schedule it threw it out, but now that we're talking about wine, I'm eager to taste.
I know.
it.
So anyway,
I
it's
should have
my
clean
turn.
palates and
Yeah,
all good.
Yeah. So I picked up this bottle of Palmer Vineyards.
Did we do a Palmer wine
Viognier.
one time? Did we do Palmer's?
I don't know
No,
if we've ever
I
done
never
one.
did.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I've been there. It's
Yeah.
a lovely place.
Maybe that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Viognier. I've never had a Viognier that I know of before. Who knows?
I actually never heard of it.
I
didn't
either.
Well,
I'm
Viognier,
confessing to
there's
her.
a little story to it because it says it's really a French grape. It grows in France.
Oui, oui.
Ooh, I wanted to say something like
It's
that.
it was out of favor for much of the modern era. It survived on a handful of acres in its native Condro in northern France.
Oh, okay.
Condro? I don't
Yeah.
speak French.
Let's just go with that.
Okay, now it's back thanks to white wine drinkers who only really had like the Chardonnays and the Pinot Grigios, and they wanted something different.
Oh,
So this is oak aged to develop a creamy texture like Chardonnay. It's similar to Chardonnay.
Okay.
It is similar,
Oh.
but the dominant
I like
aroma
Chardonnay.
in Viognier is lemon
Yummy.
and tangerine, and in Chardonnay it's yellow apple. So, but they're both full-bodied. This is a full-bodied wine, and the Viognier has a softer start, and it builds into an oily feeling. I'm curious to see what that is like on the mid-palate to limey tangerine on the finish.
You should have left that part out.
Mid palate. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell does that mean?
When it hits the roof of your mouth in the middle like that, yeah.
Oh, that's
That's
so
your palate up
Now,
there.
you've never had this?
No, I have never had it. I've
what's
had
the
other
price
farmer
point?
wines. Oh, this was in Total Wine, $20.49.
Wow.
Well, it's
okay.
a Long Island wine, so
Yeah.
they're always a little
Yeah, they're
pricey,
more.
and
Alright.
sometimes I don't like them. So
Yeah.
sorry, Total
Yeah,
Wine.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
Palmer
so
Vineyards.
Farmer
is,
Vineyards. It's a lovely place.
Well, we used
My
to
niece
do
got
some,
married there.
We used to do event. Well, we didn't do
Thank
event.
you.
Borders sometimes did
Oh,
books,
that's
events
right.
there.
That's right. I'm only going to give you a little
Smells
because
like
I
a
know.
Chardonnay.
She knows I'm not a fan of Chardonnay, so if this is like Chardonnay, I'll suffer through it.
It's
Oh my
nice and icy cold.
Suck it up.
So wait, do we have a toast?
Do we
So-
have?
So we have a toast.
Let's to the white wine drinkers who are giving us a V&A.
Yeah, okay.
So, okay.
So,
Alright.
Well, when's our next podcast? Probably in a couple of weeks.
Well,
right?
this one will air this week. This one's going to come on either tomorrow.
All right. Well, my husband's birthday is middle of February, so in case
Okay.
we don't.
Well, we'll probably
we'll
have
get
another one before then.
Right.
Just in case, I wish you
Yeah.
twice. My
Probably
my
now.
handsome husband,
Yeah, when's his birthday?
the 16th
Oh,
of
Oh,
February.
all right. Well, we
Yeah.
might not have one then.
Well, no, we might.
Yeah, we will.
We might.
will.
Okay.
Well, my
All right, you have to
son-in-law-
wait now.
I'll do it again.
My son-in-law is birthday is on February 9th. So
Okay.
Matt.
Oh, Matt. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
happy birthday,
So,
Matt.
All right.
So,
All right. What about you? You don't have anybody to wish a happy birthday to? Somebody.
My nephew Carl's birthday is February 5th.
That'll count.
He's
yeah.
the same age as Samantha. He's a
Oh,
couple of
okay.
months older than her. And somebody else, one of my nieces is in February. I have such a big family,
Yeah.
it's hard to
I
keep
know.
track.
I know. So.
Well,
So,
for
but
anybody
more than
out
any-
there,
yeah.
happy birthday.
And cheers to us all getting together again.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Cheers to us. All right, let's taste
all right,
this.
let's see how this is.
Like it reminds me of saying Viennetta. Remember?
Yeah, no, Viognier. I had to Google it, I didn't know how to say it.
Oh, I don't mind that.
This is very nice.
Mm.
This is not.
To me, it's lighter than a Chardonnay.
It's not. Yes, it's not as. It's not a Chardonnay.
You know why? Because it's not buttery. It's creamy, but it doesn't have that buttery,
This
oaky
is very
taste.
nice.
I'm trying to do the oily finish here. I know the oily in the mid
I don't
palate.
need to do that.
Do you want some olive oil?
I don't know what that means.
It's much better. See, I like white wine.
No,
Not
I-
it's my favorite, but I'm not a fan of Pinot Grigio, and this is
That's too light.
this is
Pinot
not
Grigio is
like
too
like a
light.
See,
Pinot
I
Grigio.
prefer
No.
Pinot Grigio over Chardonnay.
This is kind of like in between.
But
It
this
depends on the Chardonnay, because if you probably don't like the oak in the Chardonnay, but you
Probably.
could get the stainless steel Chardonnays.
This is
You'll
delicious.
have to-
And they're like a heavier Pinot Grigio, really.
Oh.
It's
So
more
this
fruity.
is delicious, and this is coming from usually a red wine drinker. This
Yeah.
is delicious.
Yeah, and
delicious
it's
very
white
good.
wine.
I like
very
it too.
refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish it were a little cheaper. It'll be a treat.
Yeah.
Well done, Viognier. I like this. Wait,
Wow.
wait a second. So is this called Viognier, or is this?
It's
has-
the kind of wine
but
is
the
Viognier.
title of it is Palmer.
It's Palmer. It's
Okay.
a Palmer
It's a
Viognier.
vineyard, Palmer Vineyard.
Palmer is a
Right.
Viognier. Okay.
Yeah.
Palmer Viognier.
It's
Right.
2021.
Very
I
nice.
like it, Bill. Well done, Peg.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's, I think it's 12.5% alcohol, it said.
It is nice to drink alcohol again.
nice.
She just has to admit that.
12%
Okay, so it's a
Alcohol.
little better than what I had the other
Yes,
night.
the other night Carol had 114% and it knocked her
You
on her
did?
ass.
You didn't tell me that.
Well, let's not discuss
Oh,
that.
no, that should be a good topic.
No, we're going to go to the
Come
birthday.
on.
I will
Wait,
tell
is
you
that
all-
when you called me all like late night? And...
No.
Judy,
No, we
are you up? It's 2 o'clock.
Oh, those were the days. All right, well, I guess we'll move on to the book. Okay, this is my segue. It's called, as we were talking before, it's called The School for Good Mothers, and it's by Jessamine Chan. And it's actually was picked by a read with Jenna.
Oh, it
Bush.
has that sticker like
Yeah.
the one I had last time. Nice.
And it was also one of President Barack Obama's summer reads, and he liked it quite a lot. So here's my review. Okay, so while I was reading this, I couldn't help but think how dangerously close this was to reality. It very disturbing. Even though it's dystopian, it's very scary, and it reminded me a little bit of The Handmaid's Tale. And it also made me uncomfortable, which I'm going to go into that a little bit later. But it's about how the government can send parents to this school for months at a time, overnight, to pull them away from their children or child if they feel that the parent was harming the child in any way.
Now, can I stop? Because it says good mothers, and you're talking parent. Is it only for mothers, or is it also for fathers?
There's also a school for fathers too,
Okay.
and that's in a separate one. The protagonist, Frida Liu, I'm thinking that's how she pronounced her name, made a mistake in judgment, and it comes early on in the book, and as I was reading it, I'm like, well, she shouldn't have done that, and I was upset with her. I was like, wow, that was a mistake.
It
And
was a big mistake
It
that
was
she
a-
made.
yeah.
But don't say it.
No. And when it came to her daughter, and she paid a big price though, because she had to go through this whole process in front of this court and everything, and they sent her to this school and pulled her from her child. And her child is now being taken care of or raised by her ex-husband, who has, well, I don't know if they're married yet.
A new wife.
Yeah, I think they got married, and
Yeah.
so she's becoming like, it's very disturbing, taking over this child's life. So she had to go to the school to be retrained, and the school is, as a parent, you're not allowed to raise your voice to your child, and you have to always act in a positive manner. And she does this with a pseudo child, and I'm not going to explain what that means. It's the imagination that this author had with how she did this was just, I kept like, oh my gosh. I mean, I can't wait to interview her, because it's just crazy what goes on. And like I said, men are sent to their own school as well, and then the men and the women do get a chance to interact with each other, and they're always being watched. Always, it's like Big Brother. They're always being watched and criticized and told what they're doing wrong, and they get to, if they do okay, then they might get their child back, but they might not. They might not ever get their child back. So the one particular man, his child was taken away from him because he took his eyes off him for a minute, and the child was up and climbing a tree and fell and broke his arm. And so they took the child away. And so think about, the mistakes that we made as parents, and it's like, wow. So like I said, I was amazed at her imagination. And I also said that this book made me uncomfortable. And the reason it made me uncomfortable, I'm going to try not to get emotional about this, is that I did spank my children. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, and I've carried a sense of guilt for that as a mother. I really felt very guilty, and I've always wanted to apologize to them. But I was doing with how you do it. Really, I believe I have, but they love to tease me about it, but it bothers me. But I was doing with how I was raised, and it was like that old implementing the Bible verse from Proverbs, which is spare the rod, spoil the child. And so, I didn't use a rod, but I spanked them. And yet, the School for Good Mothers takes the opposite approach, where you don't do anything at all with your children. You're supposed to remain calm, and which is good.
Very Stepfordy.
Yeah, exactly. And you always have to be like so on edge all the time. So it takes an opposite approach of the parents' discipline. But it's funny because I often think, and I've always thought this, that people become parents too willy-nilly a lot of times. And whereas I always thought they should have training for people that want to be parents, or they should make them take a course. But then after reading this, I'm like second guessing myself, because you don't really want the government involved in that.
Well, this is all about, this book about government overreach, just
Right.
like it's a Handmaid's Tale.
Right.
When I started reading this, I said, oh my God, this is just another example of how the government can try and take over your personal life.
Exactly.
And take all of your rights away. And that's what they were doing with this school.
It was so.
Some of the people in the school, because you get to meet the other characters in the
Right.
school, the other...
How do you know all this? Did you read that?
I did read it. It was really great.
Well, the government does have some sort of, for those parents, that's what our current social services.
Sure,
system
child
is.
protective services,
Yeah.
but this takes it like
This is much
way,
more.
way further. And
Yeah.
you could never see your child again in some cases.
Right.
It was
Ever.
like,
It was against the law.
you will never see your child again. You blew it.
Yeah.
Don't fail out of that school because you're never going to see your kid again.
Right. Right.
And it actually, when you were talking a few minutes ago, about, like you spanked your child, and it reminds me of something that happened to me when Jessica was, I guess she was 3 years old. She tripped over a bump in the sidewalk in my front yard, and she fell on her arm.
Mm-hmm.
And, I brought her in the house, and, she was crying, and I was comforting her. And, then for the next half hour, like, she was just holding her arm like this. So I said, Jessica, can you move your arm? And she goes, my arm hurts. So I took her to... No, it wasn't, because I didn't lift her up. That's when you pull your kid up and
No,
you
but you can do it that way
dislocated.
too. You can do it.
But
that way
I
too.
brought her to the hospital emergency room. It was when St. Joseph's, when it was Mid-Island Hospital on
Right.
Hempstead
I
Turnpike.
remember that.
And when I brought her in, and I was there with her. Meanwhile, I was like 8 months pregnant with Samantha. And the doctor said to Jessica, Jessica, did your mommy do this to you? And Jessica was 3 years old, and she goes, yes! So I said, no, I didn't.
Oh my.
And luckily the doctor must have seen, this woman could barely walk, she's so pregnant.
Yeah.
But I thought that doctor had nerve saying that to her.
Yeah.
She was 3 years old.
Yeah.
And, she might not have made the connection. What did my mommy do to me?
Right.
Yes, my mommy took me to the hospital.
Right. Right. She
So-
worded that really.
Oh.
He didn't ask right, because one of my daughters was bit by a dog when she was 2.5. Not my dog, but nothing serious, okay? It was just a little stitch that needed to be done. But of course, being, I bring her to the hospital, with my husband, and we, we're getting emergency room.
Yeah.
And I explained exactly what happened, an intake, explained what happened to the person on call. The doctor comes in and sits, now she's 2.5, but she is very articulate, still is.
Yeah.
So tell me what happened.
No,
Okay.
well,
So
no, that
it's
happened,
different.
because then the
Yeah.
doctor, started, he kind of laughed when I said, no, I didn't. And he looked at me, the condition I was in, and I think you could tell by my personality I'm not an abuser, and then he let it go, but I thought that wasn't cool for him to
We are
do
going
that.
to take a real brief break because we have somebody at the door.
Well, you guys, you continue. I was going to keep going.
Okay, we have an audience member coming.
Yeah,
Yay.
absolutely.
Awesome.
Okay, so all right, so that's interesting because what she shared.
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
it? But also there is a new program on called the Parent Test. Have you seen that?
Yes. I haven't watched the whole thing because I thought I would love it, and then it's just gotten me angry, so I stopped.
Really?
Yeah.
I've been intrigued by it, and it does remind me of this. It really does. So if you haven't seen it, it has like several parents, different processes and styles of parenting, and it's a very interesting show because
It's a good concept. I
yeah,
have to
it
say.
is. So the timing for the School for Good Mothers is interesting. Anyway, I'm going to be interviewing the author, and that's Lacey, who's going to be barking because we have an audience member that just showed up. So again, it's February 9th. Fascinating story, and I think that it does bring out a great conversation, and parenting skills and that kind of
As
thing.
you were talking, it kind of reminded me a little bit, not of the parent test, but do you remember the show Super Nanny with Joe Frost?
Oh, yes, yes.
I loved that show, but when you were talking about how they video you, that's what they used to do. When they would have a problem, then they'd video, then they'd sit you down and say, this is what you did right, this is what you did wrong. And I go, imagine having that all of the time.
Oh, my goodness.
That wouldn't be...
My neighbor had, but I think it was called the nanny. I don't know if it was Super Nanny. And a lot of it is staged.
Is it?
Yeah, a lot of it is staged.
You
That was
me.
Scott across the street. He was a cop. He had 7 kids. I think it was just
Oh,
called the
now I'm all
nanny.
They told
disappointed.
her to run across the street or something? The
Yeah,
child?
they told one of the kids, all right,
There's
run
an
across the
American
street.
version, and then there's...
Yeah, this was the American.
Oh,
It was
okay, that one I
across the
don't
street
watch.
from my house in
Super Nanny's
Levittown.
not staged.
The show was very,
She's awesome.
very popular.
Right.
And but anyway, I give that 5.5 Wildflowers.
Yeah.
I really,
I do
really
too.
liked
That's
it.
good to know.
It's
Yeah.
coming out in paperback on February something.
That Tuesday, so
Yeah.
whenever the
Yeah,
7th.
beginning of February.
I
Yeah.
could see who would have a baby if you lived in this dystopian society. Who
I
would
know.
have a baby?
I
It
know.
would be very
You know,
crazy.
I know.
Definitely.
Maybe they make you. I gotta read it.
Yeah, no, that wasn't part of the
Oh,
So
story.
yes, I highly recommend it. So we're going to take a break, but we're going to come back with Judy's topic,
Yay!
which is...
Oh, my topic is technology and the pursuit of happiness.
Love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll be right back.
All right.
So I can say hi to my new
Yes.
audience member that just came.
Back. Hi, everybody.
Yay!
You have to flip it over before Carol yells at you.
Oh gosh.
Flip over the screen.
Flip over the screen.
Every time I flip over.
It turns.
Is it running?
Hang on a second. I have to fix. I don't know why when I start the camera
Hear
that
folks?
happens. Like the
Does
sign
audience
cuts
hear
off.
everything?
Yes, the
Oh,
audience
okay,
is
that's
hearing
all right.
all of my bantering.
So should we just, the topic that we're going to do, and I don't know, we have our audience members here too, so is technology and the pursuit of happiness. And I really thought a lot about what to talk about. And I came across this topic as I was reading a book, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But I kind of want to frame it. And so a lot of people throw around happiness, right? We just want to be happy. You just want your kids to be happy, right? And is that possible today to achieve this happiness in a world which is increasingly becoming more technologically sophisticated, digitally, artificial intelligent? Is true happiness achievable? Is that something or is it becoming further away? Are we pushing that marker away? Now, I came across this because of a book. Now, I know it's not my book, and I'm not going to talk about it. It's not my turn, but I had to bring it. It's new. It just came out. It's called The Good Life. It's an excellent book. I'm not completely done. I have about 60, 70 pages left to read in it. But this is nonfiction. It's by Robert Waldinger and Mark Schultz. They are the keepers, the keepers of this project, which is 84 years in the making of following people throughout their lives.
I read about this. There must have been an article in the Times.
It's been getting a lot of press, which is how it got my attention. They've had a lot of famous people through it, including John F. Kennedy Jr. So what they would do is they'd follow people starting, usually when they're 14 years of age. It's a Harvard study. And so you would deal with kids in Boston usually. It started that way. And it would send them questionnaires every 2 years to answer. And then they would follow it up with visits throughout their whole lives. So even if they relocated to Colorado, California, Hawaii, overseas, they'd go out, a researcher would go out and actually visit and get in their home and speak with them. And they'd answer these questions. And it's nonfiction. It's filled with statistics. And it focuses on happiness, but gives you real life stories of people. So it just kind of really, maybe another time I'll get into the depths of it, but that's what prompted this conversation. And what this book came down with, which is what I think a lot of us would probably agree, is the secret to happiness this is reminiscent of City Slickers, is one thing. Right?
Gosh,
Well, that was such a funny movie.
It was a great movie. But
I can't remember what he said.
he didn't say anything. Okay, in the
Okay.
movie, but in this book, the secret to happiness is really one thing, and that is meaningful relationships.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and now I did this part for you, Peg. I went to my statistics. I did a little,
I'm special.
Yeah.
Okay, and so, I want to throw out a couple of statistics. What we typically think of a formal marriage. Now I'm going to think of that term as somebody with like a marriage certificate. Whoever you're married to, but a marriage certificate in the hand is becoming less common today. Even though we have more options now for formal marriage, because we have interracial marriage, which is now acceptable. We have gay marriage, which is now legal. In 1950, there were 20% of the households were unmarried households.
Okay.
Okay. Today, not today, 2020 is the statistics I have, which is what the book drove on.
Right.
51% of the households are unmarried households.
Oh, yeah.
So even though we have more options for marriage now, we are more than doubled of an unmarried household than where we were from 1950. So then the book does throw out some more statistics. It's they say, well, marriage or the idea of marriage has changed too. In 1850, marriage was more for survival, a partnership for survival, right? From the 1850s to 1965, expectations started to increase of what you wanted. You wanted companionship and love, right? In the 21st century, factoring in his economy, economical concerns, cultural concerns are such an increasing factor. You have higher expectations, and people are now becoming less engaged in their community and relocating more, right? Which they're doing more relocation for work. Kathleen probably, I know she's got this going on too in her family too, with some,
That's our audience.
And I've relocated a lot too, for professionalism, for work as well. So people don't stay in any one place longer anymore, right? And so they're not establishing those relationships, those friendships, or those, where you can meet people and typically engage. And so this is something that, is possible. What's the downside of this is anxiety is going through the roof as a culture, right? Yeah. Anxiety is shooting up rapidly among those never married. The never married. We're not talking about divorced or widowed, but those never married, they are never married with higher college degrees are some of them. They're 2 times more likely to have anxiety problems.
Wow.
I have to just make a comment on that because I have a niece who is, she's in her 30s and she wants to get married and have a child. And she's on dating sites and she meets these men and they're very nice and they get along very well. And the men are all saying, I'm in therapy because I had a bad relationship, and they don't want to commit to anything. And even their desire is to commit. Yes, this is what I want too, but they can't make that step.
Yeah.
And
well, there's statistics behind that, and men and women across all socioeconomic demographic groups are showing an increase in the mental health disorders, especially anxiety here. But it's double for those who are unmarried and with college degrees.
Yeah. Wow.
And loneliness, if somebody is lonely, it's a direct predictor of functional decline and death.
Oh, wow.
So, it's like if you're,
I'm not lonely.
There's a lot.
No, 2 of us are like, oh, wow.
And this, what we're doing here is actually, what the book is what this book really reaches out to do is you have to make a point. You have to establish social connections, meaningful relationships, and it does more to your health than probably anything else. And they go through stories, to prove you, and they have the statistics to prove it because they've been following people from the age of 14 until they die, and they could show the correlation between it. They're not the only one that's done studies like this, and they link it up to different countries or places that have done similar studies, and they all have similar results. And so they're like, that's like the golden grail, the holy grail of when you could find that same link to show you that there is a correlation there. So, I started looking around and wondering, is technology really enhancing or hindering our relationships? And I drawing upon a couple of examples that reach the media lately these days. One of them was, I don't know if you've heard about this, called Chat GPT. It's artificial intelligence writing.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, where you can pretty much plug anything into writing, and it would be a paper,
Right.
briefs from lawyers. I'm a lawyer, I could write something, or a book.
Right.
Yeah.
And with pretty quickly it could write. And you just say, I want to write about white wine from France, in a book group discussion, and it could punch out a whole novel for you.
I think it's actually, I've read something about that with the colleges, with college papers.
Yes.
And they were banning the Chat GPT.
Right.
Well, you could ban, but there's so many different places around. So so we're not using our brains anymore.
Right.
Or this is kind of what is going on. They have the one that I always like to go for, and it's my nemesis, are our smartphones.
Yeah.
We all are used to older phones, right? We've all grown up with just your regular rotary punch phone, where you actually have to call somebody and be on the line and speak to them.
Yeah.
Versus smartphone. Now most people text.
Yeah, there's no talking.
Really, out of our friends, I see you. Well, we do see each other, but we text as well.
Right.
But I have some friends where we're just on texting,
Yeah.
where we used to be spending hours on the phone.
Right.
And
you can spend hours on a text.
You
Take
can.
it from me.
And that's when I'll usually cross the line. I'll be like, just call me. Because I don't like texting a lot of stuff. I like to be. But what do you think about this? Is the smartphone hurting us, or is it helping us?
I think it's
more?
like anything. I think I was just talking to Corey yesterday about a topic similar to this. It's just like there's no perfect solution for anything anymore. It's like something's going to pay the price for progress, or is it really progress? Actually, we were talking about climate change yesterday, more about that and like different things like that. But is it better or not? I get crazy watching, when you're out and about driving and you see people walking down the street and all they're doing is on their phones.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's craziness.
It makes me crazy, and they walk into the street and I'm like...
Sometimes they're in a group, especially you see teenagers. They're in a group of teenagers and they're all on their phone texting somebody who wasn't there.
I wish I would have
But
bought
there's like two scenarios as far as with the cell phone thing, about the texting and the talking. My sister Maureen and I talk almost every single night on the phone, and we're on the phone for a long time. Sometimes she's just telling me what she's doing. It could be totally inane, but it's like we're in the same room together.
Right.
But then the other thing that I like is that we also have a group chat in text with my 4 younger sisters. We can't all be on the phone at the same time. So we just are texting in this group, and everybody puts in their opinion, and we joke around, and we send memes. Right. And I think that's something, I like that. Yeah. And we all like that. Sometimes it goes on too long, and then you say, okay, good night, I'm going to bed.
Well, the three of us, we do that all the time. I gotta go.
Yeah. But we also are making a point to get together and have a face-to-face conversation. Or sometimes, like last week, where you called, where we'll get a group call together because there's just some things that you need to talk about. Rather than on a text. But I think there's something getting lost with this digital. I saw a picture from the 50s or 60s. I wish I would have brought it here, where somebody was complaining. It was a picture that was published in the newspaper. Everybody in the subway car with the newspaper. No, this was a bit. They're on the newspaper looking at, and everyone's like, "Oh, look, nobody's interacting anymore because they're all reading a newspaper." And now, I'm sure if you were to go in, you'd see
everybody's on their phone
like this.
So what's the difference?
Right, exactly. What's the difference? And then I'm like, well, am I really just overreacting? Because I went into this smartphone kicking and screaming. I did not want this smartphone, and my daughters do have a cell phone now. Right. But they were probably one of the last few to get it.
Yeah, Riley was like that too. Like, she didn't have it very young. Some kids have it very young.
And I'm torn with it. So that's one of the areas I wanted to think about. A couple of other ones is Zoom, which during the pandemic, Zoom has become a really important way for people to stay connected from a business and school, as well as school. Now, this one I like, and then I'm like, am I picking shit?
Yeah, you are, because it's convenient for you.
It is convenient.
I
for
think
me,
it's a little different. I think because of the pandemic, it helped a lot. You weren't, exposed to.
So did House Party, but
Yeah.
House Party went down, and nobody even hears about it now.
Right.
Zoom kind of like clicked in there, and I
Yeah,
think it's
and
there to stay.
I'm a lawyer, and before the pandemic, I traveled a lot for work. My hearings were, my court dates happened on an emergency basis. I could be anywhere from like, actually I just got to, I might have to go to Hawaii, like, all different things
I'll
going
go
around.
with you.
No, I said that. But like it could be anywhere I could go in a quick manner, and from a personal standpoint, it drives me nuts because it's like, it throws your home life into chaos, especially when you have a husband who his schedule changes a lot
and stuff. Yeah.
But when Zoom came along, the courts went online, and I'm like, why would they go back from? I work for the government. It's saving taxpayer money.
Yeah.
You're not flying witnesses all over the place for half an hour worth of testimony.
That's true.
You don't have to pay for the hotels, their car, their meals. The judges, everybody could do a court. And I'm not talking about murder cases. I'm talking about administrative law where it's not life or death here. And it's like, why would we go back?
That does make sense.
And I think taxpayers should know about this. So I think in some cases that's a benefit. For
It's the same with working from home. A lot of these companies just kept it because they don't have a building to rent anymore.
Right.
And they can still have a meeting.
Yeah.
So
But
I would prefer to be in the workplace.
No, I like working from home.
I like working from home.
But I also see, like, if you were in a building and then the local businesses are losing business because you're not bringing in.
Exactly.
But
they want to convert them into residences.
The statistics will show that it's a thriving for the local businesses where the people live then. So if you're home more, you're patronizing your local businesses more surrounding your residents.
And like, for instance, in New York City, now those empty office buildings, they want to convert to apartments, so those businesses will still have their clientele because people will live there and they're going to shop there.
Exactly.
So
it's just rethinking the way. Right. Another one, I have so much to talk about, but one of them is the dating scene. Okay, this is something, is online dating.
Yeah.
Now, that was before us, and I met my husband live, but I do know friends who did meet online and have very happy marriages too. It's something, but I think it's here to stay for sure.
Yeah, it's been around for a long, long time.
I'm like, so is benefit? Yeah, or like would you do it? Would you not do it? Like, if we were growing up in this age, what do you think?
Well, when you say online, like you meet somebody, then you meet them for a drink or something.
Yeah, it's like online dating site.
Would you put yourself?
I did for a while, and I hated it.
You did. What did you not like about it?
Every guy I met was an asshole.
Okay.
Basically, but I don't know. It's like.
Well, you have to understand, first of all, because when we did it, because I did it for a very short time and I hated it too, but we were older.
Right.
And the men our age weren't necessarily looking for women their age. They were, the ones I met, they were looking for women who were younger. And, like professional women or even just young women, like arm candy. And it made me feel bad about myself.
Oh, that's
not good.
But I did it for a very short time, and I said, why am I even doing this? I'm perfectly happy on my own anyway. I like myself.
Yeah.
And I have friends and I have family. But Samantha and Aaron met each other on, it was an online app.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they've been married for years now, and
No, I don't know that I would still do it.
That
I
are
don't have
here
the
to
patience
stay.
for it. I'm happy the way my life is.
But there's a lot of ethical also things that come up. The one thing is when you mention things make you feel bad or something, not necessarily dating, but I mean linked to the online presence, especially that our younger kids are doing.
Oh my God, that's one of the things I've
absolutely
notated. Yeah.
But also, I see this as it's hindering our ability to know what's real, what's truthful. And two of them are that made the news is Dolly, which I made the news this week, which is a website which will create art. You know, and I think I sent you all a picture. Remember, I sent you a graphic picture of what that was made with an app, Dolly. Now you could make it in. You could tell anybody to say, make me a picture of a woman in a recliner in the style of Picasso.
Oh, right, right.
You know, and within 30 seconds, you'll have a Picasso-esque painting there.
Wow.
That
but what's
just
wrong with that?
That I'm like, I'm
What's wrong
wondering.
with that? It's like everybody's exposed to beautiful artwork that matches their taste.
But will it? What if? That's what I'm trying to explore. Like, is there something? I mean, if will anybody then want to do it themselves?
Right.
You know, or will it? You know, if we're just having artificial intelligence do all of this,
I
like the
think
right
somebody.
like you said, that chat program, whatever. I know there's a lot of
ChatGPT.
There's a lot of other programs for writers, and it always makes me crazy because the books can not just go through grammar stuff, but plot points and all this stuff. And that always bothered me. I'm like, who's writing the book? Some AI is writing the book, and I feel like you, as a writer, lose the joy of actually learning the craft. And it's the same with the artist, learning the craft, learning to do it. I feel like you get a rewarding experience from that. And that's how I feel about the writing. I totally feel we're robbed from something.
I think that if you are the artist or the writer, you don't want to do that. You are going to create because you're compelled to create something. So I don't think that affects a real artist. Like, I could do something like that because, I'm not an artist.
Okay, I get that point.
But can they compete? I mean, like with AI, and we all have worked in the book industry, all of us. And will the human be able to compete against something in AI, which is built to create a perfect piece of work? And if perfect pieces of work are what sells and becomes commercial,
right?
Is there a place for humans ultimately later on? Now, I mean, it's just something to think about.
There might be people who are going to refuse to have anything to do with that, like people who refuse to order a book from Amazon, for instance. I'll never go there.
But I've gone there and I bought book industries, and I support local authors and all that too.
Did you hear that?
I know.
I'm not friends with her anymore.
I know
Why?
I don't do it often, but I'm just. But there is a silver lining to it. One story I did see this morning, and I wrote it down as my girls were laughing at me because I'm making notes as I'm watching, my morning show this morning. And we've all heard of deep fakes, right? Like how if you can see a video and you think it's President Obama speaking or Donald Trump speaking, but it's really not or whatever. Notice I didn't use president with him. But, how can you tell if it's a deep fake? Yeah. And so a lot of major corporations like Microsoft and Adobe and a lot of other ones I didn't get time to write down have come together on their own and are working to create technology, to create something to help us identify, like your average person. And what you might start seeing is a lot of photos or videos with a little circle in the top corner with a little eye on top. And if you click on the eye, it'll show you the history of it, and it'll show like, for example, they use this one today on the news about pyramids covered in snow. Oh, look, this is, and someone put it on the website. Yeah. Look, this was covered so up in Calgary or whatever it is, and you click on it, and it'll show you the original.
Right.
Oh, okay. And then it'll, or it will have something on there, origin unknown, if they can't identify if this is original. So this is something they're doing on their own as to collective good to the humanity, which I thought kudos to you guys for doing that.
No, it's very important.
I thought that was important to know.
Yeah, unlike Zuckerberg.
Are we on?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry about that. The battery died, which we didn't realize, but, we did once the battery died. But we're here again, and we're talking about all this technological stuff. And where were you?
I had just finished talking about deep fakes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, those were some of the main ones that came to my mind. One of the negatives, I just want to say statistics again for you, Peg, is that even with like ChatGPT or, and what's the harm we've had? Like, what's the harm?
Yeah.
12% of the workforce of BuzzFeed this year was laid off because they're now relying on AI technology
Wow.
to create their content. So there is a real harm to people, if we are going to start using AI to write for us, to create graphic or digital imagery or art. Who needs
But that's
graphic
been
artists?
going on since the
If we
beginning
could-
of
if they
the
could do it.
Industrial Revolution, machines taking over for humans. I mean, that's been
Well, and I
the
also
subject.
thought like vaudeville, when vaudeville was replaced by movies.
Yeah,
And,
exactly,
everything gets,
yeah.
Right, and so is this just another? It's here to stay. So I
Yeah.
guess it's just the latest.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny because when you told me this topic, and I researched the phrase technology as it relates to pursuit of happiness, I came across something totally different. Well,
You
not
did?
totally different,
What did you find?
but it's very interesting. It was all about how there's electrodes that you can put in the brain to make someone feel happy.
Oh.
And is that something we really want? Where am I?
That sounds like a science fiction movie.
Yeah, but no, they can do that, and it's.
And they do it with medicine. Why not instead in lieu of medicine?
I don't know if I love it though. I feel like it's not a genuine feeling. Okay? So it
Well,
says
it's kind
when.
of like antidepressant.
Right,
Well-
that's what I was thinking. Instead
Well,
of certain medication, you
Well,
have.
here's what I got a kick out of those.
All
Like,
right, tell
when
us.
researchers injected the neurotransmitter blah 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 into a patient's septal area, vigorous activity showed up on the EEG, and the patient usually described intense pleasure, including multiple orgasms, lasting as long as 30 minutes.
Holy mackerel.
I'm like, okay.
I know 30 minutes is an awful long time.
Lose weight and have fun at it.
Does it say where they're doing this treatment?
Certainly interesting.
Yeah.
Just for research purposes.
Yeah, just for research. But yeah, so I totally didn't
Yeah.
get what you were going for, but I just found that very funny. But I did write. Oh, and I also said it sounds similar to a lobotomy. Like what they were doing.
Yeah.
No, but I
Yeah.
mean, people, like you said, people take antidepressants. What's the opposite of depression? You're happy, I guess.
Right.
So if medication,
Well,
you're
that's
not
like chemical
ingesting this-
imbalances
But
and,
that's what these neurotransmitters are probably
Yeah,
trying
that's
to
true.
correct it from that
Yeah.
point of view.
So that might
Yeah.
be our next
I
conversation.
think technology in medicine is phenomenal. And I know it's very, very expensive, but I've gone through my own things lately.
Right.
And, testing my blood, like they could find out what kind of cancers am I susceptible to, is it genetic? They found out that my breast cancer was hormonal, so now I'm going to be on a hormone blocker.
Right.
I mean, just think, not too long ago, the average lifespan was like 40 years old.
It's true.
Wow.
And they said the person, this is from a commercial, so I don't know how true it is, but they said that science believes that the first person to live to be 150 years old has been born already.
Oh,
It's
wow.
me.
Well, we're almost out of time, but so we dropped that bomb just now, or Peggy dropped the bomb, and about breast cancer.
Well,
And that's fine.
and I don't have it anymore.
Yeah. That's what we should cheer about.
Yeah.
But it wasn't our place to say it, so well done.
So we are
We're
very
so
happy.
happy.
So we did not want to say anything, but we're very happy. But so the next
Can I
podcast,
spill this? I drank.
we're going to be talking about a topic that we all know about, but that I'm very comfortable with, and I'll explain why. It's about bookstores. So see you at the next podcast.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you
Thanks for
watching.
joining.
And that was a great topic, though.
I
It was
know.
totally.